programs over here. So now coming to the topic, as you are all aware, this program is on something called as Swadhyay. Right? So anybody who has heard the word before, what do you mean by the word Swadhyay? So we need to understand it. So Swa means self. Adhyay is a study. Okay, so simply translating it, it's like a self-study. Okay, or another word what we can use for it, something called as introspection. Now this word is also mentioned in the Yoga Sutras and the Niyamas. Okay, or let me ask you the question, why do we need to do a Swadhyay? What do you feel? Yes, anyone? You're going to live with yourself, so you better know yourself better. Fine. Anything else? Anybody?
It sort of helps you manage situations in a better way after.
Okay, helps you manage your situations well. Creates more awareness. Why? Why do we need that awareness? Solving the issues. Okay, so life involves various issues. Somebody mentioned a nagging issue or whatever it is. So there are certain situations that we cannot handle. It creates problems in our life, and then we have to understand why those problems are occurring. Let us try to see it in a very simple way, in another way. How many of you own a vehicle? Some vehicle. Car, scooter, bike, whatever. Okay, how many of you have appliances in the house? Fridge, TV, fan. Raise your hand. You have it all? Fine, okay, good. So, do we send it for servicing? Why?
So that it functions well.
So that it functions well. Okay. Do you send all the appliances for servicing? Okay, and then suppose you have a mixer or maybe a fan. Suppose it stops working. Then what do you do? You fix it or you get it fixed?
Depends on the.
So that is what. So initially, so think of it. You fix it or you get it fixed? You try to fix it. Okay? So do we see that we try to fix something by ourselves? Why? How do we do that? So do you have some awareness about the functioning of that appliance or that vehicle or whatever it is? Right? So can we compare our body to a vehicle?
Yeah.
Or some appliance? This is an appliance. So is it possible that this appliance sometimes goes wrong, not working properly, something happens to it? Is it possible? Then what do we do? Do we try to fix it? So how do we fix it?
Sometimes by yourself, sometimes you need.
Okay, so do we try to fix it by ourselves many times? Okay, so is it wrong? Nothing right or wrong about it. If you are successful, it's fine. Okay, so suppose the fan is not working, you do something about it and it starts working again, the problem is solved. You don't call anybody again to just check that. Okay, so similarly, in a sense, we already have some awareness about ourselves. It's not that you're not at all aware about yourself. We already know something about ourselves, and through whatever we are aware, we try to fix things for ourselves. Right? But then sometimes when things don't work, then what do we do? Do we always throw that away? Okay, how many of you have a mobile? Good. So when you buy a mobile, do you get a manual with that? How many of you stored that manual? Anybody who has kept that manual with you? Do you read that anytime? Do you refer to it? You read it as a pastime or you read it really for learning? Wow, great. How many of anybody else who does that, who has read the manual? Starting, read it? Well, great. I don't remember myself reading any time. So in a sense, I think, or we think, I know something about that mobile. Or in a sense, if there is a problem, I can just ask someone and get the problem solved. So usually we just buy that mobile, we just keep that box somewhere, keep the manual inside. But whenever there is a problem, what do? We just go to the shop. We don't read that. We just go to the shop and get it done, or ask some of our friends to help us out and get the problem resolved. So similarly, in a sense, if we have problems, first of all, we are aware about ourselves in some way or the other, and we try to sort our problems through that much knowledge. Okay? If the problem is not being able to be resolved, then what do? We go to reference books or manuals. So which are our manuals for ourselves? What do we call them? What is the prescribed method for Swadhyay? We call them something called as scriptures. All of you follow some or the other religion, some or the other philosophy. Okay? So each religion, each philosophy has a book, reference book. So we try to read something from that book and try to understand the cause of problems and try to resolve our problems through that. How many of us do that? There are so many books out there, no? So for us, it may be Bhagavad Gita, it may be the Upanishads. For somebody else, it could be the Bible, it could be the Quran. There are so many books. Okay? Then there could be individual people also whom we follow. It could be Osho, it could be Saraswati, it could be anybody. So we read the books which are written by them as a scripture. We try to find out the reason of our problems and then try to figure out the reason of our problem and try to work on it. Right? So, how many of you have problems in life?
Everybody has something or the other.
Yeah, everybody has problems, but can we see that somewhere down the line we are not able to implement something that is mentioned in the book? So there are two things. Either I have not understood what is written over there, or maybe I have understood wrongly what is mentioned over there. Either of the two things. So first of all, we are not saying that whatever is mentioned in the book is right or wrong. We are not going to comment on that. Okay? But what is happening over here is that when we refer to a scripture, or in yoga what do we say as the word of a respected or a reliable source. So whom you consider to be a reliable source, you rely on the word of that person. Okay? So we rely on the word and try to follow that. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't help. So we are not saying whether this is a right or a wrong technique. This is one of the prescribed technique. Okay? So for example, how many of you know that getting angry is wrong? And how many of you get angry? So if we see what is happening over here is, when a scripture is showing us something, it is showing us the ideal. This is what is supposed to be, and you are supposed to be like this. So when we refer to a scripture, we try to adapt ourselves to those ideals. We try to follow that, we try to be that. So again I am repeating, we are not saying whether what is mentioned in the book is right and wrong. We are not commenting on that. But can we see when we refer to such thing, when we try to follow that, there is an inherent problem. The problem is that somewhere down the line, I lack the faith in what is written, which is why I am not able to implement on that. If I would have true faith in that, then I would become that. But if I am somebody else, then somewhere down the line, there is a question of my faith in what is written over there. There is a reason for that also. So for example, in most of the books it is written ahimsa, so non-violence is mentioned or prescribed in most of the books. But then what do we see in real life? The real life shows so much of violence, and the real life is also a great teacher for us. So within us we have a lot of conflicts, whether this is true or this is true. And then that does not allow us to follow what is mentioned in the book, and then we have problems. Okay? So when we try to follow an ideal path, we try to be that, many times it ends up suppressing our own feelings. So I just want to be that. I want to be an ideal person. I want to be a calm person. So what am I doing? I'm suppressing my emotions somewhere. I'm suppressing my anger or whatever, greed. There are so many negative emotions we think of. When I'm trying to suppress it, is it going to be harmful for me or is it going to be helpful for me? In what way? How can it harm me? So what is going to happen? Yeah? Yeah? So somewhere down the line, because of that suppression, that energy is getting suppressed, it is going to show out in some way or the other. My relations will be disturbed. How many times does it happen that I am just putting down something and then I blow up at some person unnecessarily? How many times does it happen that I just suppress some feeling within myself and then it shows up on my health? I don't feel energetic. I don't feel motivated. I have some or the other health problems, maybe a simple thing like acidity or maybe a headache or maybe hypertension, diabetes. It could be anything. It can go on to any level. So, scriptures, they can be true. But if I try to follow the scripture without understanding it or without having the faith on it, then it will lead to suppression and it is going to harm me in some way or the other. So is there any other way of doing a Swadhyay also? Okay. So the other way of doing a Swadhyay is, rather than referring to yourself to any ideals, I'm supposed to look at myself in a mirror. What does it mean by looking at yourself in the mirror? What does a mirror do? The mirror shows you what you are. So can I learn to look at myself in a mirror? Over here there are no ideals. It is just going to show what is, not what is supposed to be, what should be. Do you get this? So what is this program going to be about? The mirror is going to teach you how you are supposed to look at yourself in the mirror. Very simple? No, it's going to take 5 days. It looks very simple, but there are so many inherent obstacles in this path. We have to understand it. How to look at a mirror. That itself, it's not simple just for your makeup or just doing your hairstyle. You are going to look at the mirror. It's going to be something different. And there will be some problems which will be occurring in this. So that is what you're going to learn in this program over here. Fine? So slowly as the program proceeds, we'll understand more and more things about it. Okay.